Nintendo first-party games come with a level of quality assurance that makes their games easy to buy as a consumer. For decades, their games have typically launched without many bugs and glitches, unless you count the ones that are carefully sought after. They are developed for less powerful hardware than their competitors. For the types of games they make and the art styles chosen, they've been able to not only get by, but to continue to thrive in innovation and software sales. It's become clear that hardware power doesn't determine what goes on to sell the best. Nintendo's first-party releases sell, and they sell for a long time. Nintendo Switch's highest-selling game is a remaster with mass appeal amounting to almost 50 million copies sold. Animal Crossing New Horizons in less than 3 years has sold 40 million copies. The list goes on. Sony is curating industry-leading games every year, but their software sales don't often scratch the surface of Nintendo. Animal Crossing has sold twice as much as God of War. Even a more niche release like Luigi's Mansion 3 met the sales numbers of The Last of Us Part 2. Hardware power will never be a sure way to make the most money. Consoles have proven that in the last decade. The developers who know how to best utilize the power they have will always win. Pokémon games have been developed in a very straight line since their inception. Game Freak has for the last 25 years refined a formula. It's become timeless. Each one breaks the sales record of the last with small refinements and changes made to suit each game's differing environment or region. Pokémon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. At over 92 billion of total revenue, the scope of what Pokémon has been mainly used for in games as technology has grown feels unfortunate. Game Freak is typically putting out a game of high quality each year, but we're not even scratching the surface of what is possible for such a realized world. There is endless potential for side games in exploring the niche corners of the world, however, the main quest that Pokémon has been about since its inception has lacked depth in game. If it was thought that Game Freak was lacking ambition, it's not the case. The last two releases prove it's anything but. Pokémon Legends Arceus was the first time on a grand scale there was a clear want to take the series to new places. It sold incredibly well despite its technical shortcomings. The Switch itself was the beginning of saving Pokémon from its own formula. Nintendo pursuing both the console and handheld route separately kills ambition. Mainline Pokémon games being released only on handhelds was always going to halt innovation. But both options working in tandem is a recipe for success, even if it's taking Game Freak longer than was expected. One of the biggest factors in question with what's going on with Pokémon Scarlet and Violet is the Switch's power. Game Freak has built a large open world for Pokémon this year, a mostly seamless one. It still follows a very specific blueprint with some new questlines and freedoms, but innovation is coming in the way of scale versus your character's role potential in the world. It's no secret the performance of these two games on a technical level is the worst of the Pokémon games Game Freak has put out thus far. The only areas of Scarlet and Violet in which you won't be experiencing heavy FPS drops are indoors in separately instanced areas, which of course accounts for a very small section of the game. The issue with performance is that it isn't happening as a result of their visual bar being raised. Much like the game's FPS issue, the only moments in which Pokémon Scarlet and Violet look visually appealing are indoors. It's borderline shocking at times just how low resolution the textures are in this game while traveling around the vast open world. It's surprising that Nintendo let this out the door this early. Game Freak's current development cycle for Pokémon is not well suited for the types of games they're currently trying to make. They're not able to put these new experiences together in the time currently allotted for them. Breath of the Wild was released over 5 years ago, arguably Nintendo's most ambitious game to date. A larger, far more detailed world with much more going on in it. The Switch can run it. Monolith has now put out 3 Xenoblade games on Switch containing the largest worlds the console has to offer, and densely populated by NPCs. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet suffer from low FPS and pop in on NPCs that are in the same room as you. This problem is not on the hardware. Game Freak isn't a team curated to make large open world games, and although the ambition is there, the team required to make it happen at a high level is not. More time is needed to figure this out, and if they want to keep releasing these games in the same timeframes, they need more developers. Monolith has been an assist team working to help release many of Nintendo's IP alongside their own in Xenoblade. If Nintendo isn't going to task Monolith in assisting Game Freak in finding their footing, they should get the chance to work on the IP themselves. Therein lies every piece to the puzzle. Having them assist Game Freak on a single entry would be all they need to have Pokemon games meet the value and potential of the IP as a whole. Under massive performance shortcomings is a really big step for Pokemon games, one we weren't sure was ever coming. This is the most unfortunate part as a returning player, but one that won't matter. With each new Pokemon game comes new sales records broken. With word of the type of Pokemon game this is paired with the Nintendo Switch's massive install base, there will be no sign that change is needed. Game Freak is so close to being on the right path for the long run with Pokemon. With the right help and more time, you are bound to get something far more technically impressive than what is currently being offered with Scarlet and Violet. With a long list of patches to fix this game, you'll have something worthy of this style. If anything, the sales numbers and willingness to dive into these games regardless of this issue is a testament that Pokemon fans deserve better. They show up, and that will seemingly never change.